I think to your point, how do we solve this? Number one, there needs to be awareness of the problem, right? And agreement around what the problem is. Second thing is there have to be alternatives, right? So we have to, as entrepreneurs, amplify people who are doing interesting new kinds of work to fund new kinds of people and companies in different ways, even if they're not perhaps as tax advantageous. And we need to amplify those voices and those offerings. So, whether it's Clearbank up in Canada that offers like a really interesting structure for mostly e-commerce businesses, or somebody like Indie VC or Village Capital, or Tiny Seed Fund, which my wife and I are investors in, or Backstage, right, which is a primarily venture investor, but very focused on Black women entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of color in particular. We can amplify those types of offerings, and we can build our own. So, Paul, I'm sure you saw, right, that SparkToro built its own funding structure. And I managed to like go out and convince a bunch of people in my network, hey, here's why I don't think the venture model is great for you as angel investors. And a lot of, agency owners and people who had built and sold startups, folks in my network, I went to them and said, hey, you're going to pay ordinary income taxes on the money you make from SparkToro. Sorry. But I think I can still have a better return for you over the long term than a venture-backed business. And here's how. And out of the 42 people I pitched, 36 said yes. Pretty incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
So I think those are all things we can do, right? And if SparkToro's model in 5 or 10 years starts getting, a lot of coverage and press, and the New York Times is writing about it, and Wired's writing about it, and I don't know, TechCrunch writes about it. That's not, my goal is not to get covered to get covered. My goal is to get covered so that other people will go, hey, could I get funded like that? And hey, should I be investing like that? Because these venture deals are making me crap. And I think the answer to both of those is yes. I think you should start companies that are focused on being profitable, on paying dividends potentially, on having their options open to them, on not being forced to grow as fast as possible or die in 7 years, right? And that is a model I think can work for entrepreneurs and investors. I think that's part of the solution. I hope it is. And we've open sourced our docs. So if anyone wants to go, if you search for SparkToro funding, you will find a blog post. It's ranking well in Google. You'll find a blog post. It links to an open source version of our documents that our lawyer created. We sort of paid extra to have them open source so that anyone can fill in their details. And I believe 4 other tech startups in the US have already used our docs to raise money for their own funds, or for their own companies, which is awesome. It's super exciting. I'm thrilled to see that. I would love for that number to be 40. I'd love it for it to be 400, maybe in a few years. If SparkToro is successful, it could be.